Yeah. Let's go.
You know, we were in sort of a very much a passive deterrence mode. Most of our governments were saying, if, then, if he invades, then, et cetera, et cetera. And what we have seen now, after two pronunciations by the United States and three other countries sending ships and aircraft and other things, we are having now a movement towards that front area. And I think this is having an impact, because remember, this is what Mr. Putin is trying to stop, is a movement into the front area. And I think what he's beginning to see is that his actions are causing the very thing he wants to stop.
And a rational way in which we disagree.
I think one of the reasons that we are still in negotiation is because Mr. Putin is seeing exactly what he didn't want to happen happening. Remember that some of the large demands he made up early is to move forces out of the forward area. And yet what he is doing is causing more forces to move into the forward area. So I think the messaging of Poland is very good. It's also about protecting an ally. The messaging in Romania is also about the forward area, but it's very clear that Romania is also right in the thick of this. And we want to make sure that our ally understands the United States' absolute ironclad commitment to Article 5 defense. I think the next large step or important step by NATO would be to activate or put on prepare to activate orders portions of the Very High Readiness Joint Task Force. This is exactly what it was designed for. Every day, enabling elements of that force that's on the ground continue to arrive. We've seen no abatement in the, we don't want to say buildup of the troops, because people will equate that to more fighting troops. But what we have seen are everyday arrival of those enabling elements. The one that's talked about so much is the blood. Of course, that's an indicator as well, but that's one of many indicators. And so the continued arrival of those enabling elements makes his ability to use that force more every day. Mr. Putin has built a force that is very capable to make certain objectives come true. But the speculations that people have about a large, grand invasion and holding everything east of the Dnieper River, I don't sign up to that. And I am thankful and happy that the diplomacy seems to be going apace, and maybe even a little progress in that diplomacy, as both sides have agreed that there are elements that they can talk to, and we all pray that that continues. We do not want to end up in a hot conflict inside of Ukraine again. Over that time, with Ukraine literally being at war for the last 6 to 7 years with Russia, I think that NATO and the militaries of NATO have taken to heart their readiness. And I've seen elements of that play out, and investments begin to play out. And now I think we have 10 nations who are investing at a higher rate than before, et cetera, et cetera. And so I accept at face value that NATO is ready to meet the requirements that they've signed up to in the Very High Readiness Joint Task Force and the NRF. Here's a statement that's been talked a lot about, that Ukraine means more to Russia than it does to NATO. And what I think we need to be asking ourselves is NATO prepared to answer to a superpowers land force attacking to change the internationally recognized borders of another nation? Because if they are, then we need to be prepared for what's next. If we allow bad behavior to stand, if we reward bad behavior by giving the asks, then what we can expect is more bad behavior. And so I think the more essential security question is, are we prepared now to do the things that need to be done so that we're not here again in 2 or 3 years when there are more asks?